You are watching the Dangerous News Network, news, sports, and politics, where the content is uncut, uncensored, and unbelievable. And this is your host, Daniel McFarland. And tonight's topic is going to be about the Detroit Pistons. Game 13 was yesterday afternoon. They faced the New Jersey Nets. The Brooklyn Nets yesterday. It was an early game, and the Pistons, they beat the New York Nets. They beat them. They beat them to a drum. Well, if it wasn't for Joe Johnson, the game would have been a total blowout. But that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything, though. The Detroit Pistons, they still stink. They still suck until they prove otherwise. But the New Jersey Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, they're worse than the Detroit Pistons. Both New York Knicks and the New York Nets stink. That's the reason why the Detroit Pistons beat those sorry-ass teams. But I will give you credit. Rodney Stuckey, he's a good sixth man this year. Is it just a contract year, or does he have that potential? I think it's more the latter than the former. He had that potential in 2008. He just wasn't used correctly. Rodney Stuckey, he was mishandled by the coaching staff. He was mishandled by Joe Dumars. Now, would I trade Rodney Stuckey? Yes, I would. I would have traded Rodney Stuckey for Kevin Love. We had a chance at Kevin Love back in 2008 with the 5th pick in the draft. Had Joe Dumars been willing to trade for the 5th pick in the draft, and had Joe Dumars not traded down to get at least not get Walter Sharp, get DeAndre Jordan, we could have had our big men replenished. That's what we could have had. But I digress. Brandon Jennings had a solid point guard game. 10 assists. 14 points, but he's still an inefficient shooter. Now, if he cut down on his shots, if he stopped shooting ill-advised shots, if he stopped shooting ill-advised shots, he'd be palatable, more than palatable. He's already palatable as a point guard, a lot more palatable than Brandon Knight ever was. Brandon Jennings, he's showing that he has it. But he needs to be consistent. Yes, he does. I don't think Maurice Cheeks is the answer, though, but Jason Kidd is so much worse at coaching than Maurice Cheeks could ever be that it ain't even funny. Jason Kidd, he ain't cutting it as coach of the New York Nets. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, well, I'm giving it till January. But if he doesn't get it by January, we know we drafted a dud. And that's on Joe Dumars. Josh Smith is a power forward, not a small forward. Greg Monroe is someone I would trade, although he had a solid game today. Now, we can get Jeff Green and Courtney Lee for Greg Monroe, Rodney Stuckey, and Charlie Villanueva. Well, Greg Monroe and Charlie Villanueva, I'd go for that deal. I think Brandon Jennings could I think he could turn out to be something. Courtney Lee, a 3-and-D guy. Jeff Green, solid scorer already, has a chance to be a dynamic scorer. Josh Smith, he plays defense, which is what you can't say about Charlie Villanueva. He's just out of position, though. Now, yes, his attitude is a question mark, but at least he plays defense, unlike Charlie Villanueva. And if Andre Drummond gets consistent with those jump hooks, and if he develops any more of a post game than that, you're looking at a superstar center. I ain't trading Drummond for the King's ransom. But we do need better coaching. I would go after Tom Thibodeau because the Chicago Bulls, they're done for. They're done for as contenders. After Derrick Rose blew out his knee and is lost for the season, it's over for the Bulls. It's over. It is over for the Chicago Bulls. The Eastern Conference, except for the Miami Heat and the Indiana Pacers, stinks. The Atlantic Division is absolutely horrible. If Toronto is your best team in the Central Division, you know your division is shitty. Indiana Pacers, they got the Central Division down pat. The Chicago Bulls, they might as well implode this team. I'll take Luol Deng, but if we can trade Greg Monroe and Charlie Villanueva for Jeff Green and Courtney Lee, then there's no need for Luol Deng. But that's what I would do. That's what I would do. We do need better coaching, though. And we could use a better general manager. I'm still not buying Joe Dumars for 1 second. And I'm not buying Maurice Cheeks. But Jason Kidd, he stinks as a coach. That's a given. And that is all I got to say about last night's game. Well, yesterday's game against the New York Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, that is. The Brooklyn Nets, they're a joke of a team. And guess what? Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, they need to just give it up, retire from the game. And the rest of that overrated piece of shit roster that they got, they need to just blow that shit up. It's over for the New York Nets. The New York Knicks, they stink too. And this is the Dangerous News Network. I am Daniel McFarland, and I approve this message.